Yeah, there's lots of colors going on here. We got the reds and the greens and the rice and all the different little creatures in there.
Mm-hmm. Folks, welcome home. Another issue of Flash in the Pan. Here we are at the Mighty Shakers in Milwaukee. Another one of the Cooking with Juan series with our new shakerette, Lynzi. Hello, Lynzi.
Hello.
So we are going to do a traditional Spanish cuisine today, and this is just today's riff on Paella de Mariscos. So paella is a rice dish, mariscos is from the sea, and we are going to begin the real simple one-pan cooking process. So we're going to take our paella pan-esque. They come in a variety of shapes, generally something that's relatively shallow, an inch and a half or so, and about 11 or 12 inches in diameter. Doesn't matter what the construction is. Now, one of the really important things about this dish is to have paprika. And there's a couple different types of paprika. We're going to do this and heat this up first in our pan. Just use a smoked paprika as well. I prefer to do this. I like to just have the actual effect of the paprika getting itself into the pan all around that pan.
Now, what type of pan is this?
Well, again, we're going to call this a paella pan. It's got a variety of different uses for different things that are just like this. Not necessarily for a casserole pan, but call it what you want to. How's that?
Okay.
Again, we are all about using whatever you have in your kitchen, and that's kind of the same thing here. So we've just got this going. It's nice and hot. We're nice and smoky, and I'm going to back this way down. You can smell the paprika. It's very, very fragrant. It's just a really nice product. Extra virgin olive oil. Just about that much. Now, this is really a dish that we're not going to be stirring a lot, but I do want to get the paprika moving around. And we're going to stir another time here as well when we first get our rice into it. But we're going to go way low with this. And at that point, we're going to take ourselves some garlic. We're going to smash our garlic and get our garlic into here. And please bash away, Lynzi.
There's that one. It's my mussels.
Sure.
Crush that down there. Do it one more time. And toss these in right away?
Mm-hmm. Those go in right away. Now, at the same time, I'm going to take this onion and thin slices. Again, create a bridge with your fingers when you cut. Keep your fingertips on.
We like our fingertips.
We do.
Very useful for lots of things.
Lots of things. So this is more of a rustic dish, like many dishes in Spain really evolved from the country, then they worked themselves into the city. And you will find as you go to Spain, I encourage you to go to Spain, that you will find different styles of paella in different regions. And then above and beyond that, you've got a complete style that takes place at every individual restaurant. So though it might be a national dish, there's all sorts of iterations of it. So we just have garlic and a little bit of onion in there at the moment. We're going to take some of this beautiful red pepper from the farmer's market.
Our amazing farmer's market.
Mm-hmm. In West Dallas.
You know, this dish is going to be a lot of new stuff I have never had
Really?
cooked, so I'm very excited for it.
Perfect. Well, you get to do part of the green after that, so just about this much. And aside from the fact that I find the red mature to be a little bit sweeter, it's still a bell pepper, and we're not doing anything spicy that's going to be in this dish. It is traditional Spanish, which is not a area of the country or the world that really wants to have a big spice going on with it. So while this is just going to nestle here in the bottom of our pan, and looking kind of nice and happy, and the color is not from being burnt, the color is from the paprika. And if you'd have your way about the same amount of the green, that'll be good. Now you notice I've got a couple different seafoods. Again, this is the Paella de Mariscos, and we have these lovely black mussels. We got some Gulf shrimp. We have baby octopus. We have some calamari that's been cut down. We have some clams as well. And then I've got this gorgeous Alaskan salmon here. And we are going to take some of this in here. It's not unusual to have monkfish and scorpionfish and a variety of things. like anything else, use those things that you have available to you. So one of the things that takes place with this is people really get themselves beaten up and they think they have to have multiple pans for this. You really don't. We're going to build everything right here. The sole exception is that I have a seafood stock going here. You could buy one commercially, almost in a grocery store or high-end market will have that for you. I created our own. I took some belly of the salmon right here and tossed that in with the simple mirepoix, so celery, carrot, and onion, along with the salmon, and then I tossed some shrimp shells in there, and I've got some other pieces of the calamari in there as well. Just to get some flavor. It smells pretty good.
Fills up the room.
It does do that. So at this point, we're going to keep these whole because I like the presentation value that goes on. Typically, we cut these, take the shell off, shuck them, and cut them down a bit. But these are going to go in whole. But nothing happens until this happens. And what does he mean by that? We're going to get a little speed back onto here. We're going to get some of the rice in here. We start about half this amount of rice, and that we're going to stir really our one time.
Okay.
And then what we're going to do is we're going to utilize our stock over here, and we will bring this product up a little bit with our stock to moisten it and keep adding that to it. And we're going to add our saffron into there as well and build that way. So really, our vegetables are into here. You could add more if you so desire. Again, make this dish your own. Create it the way you want it to be. So I think we're pretty ready for this. And about half this amount, please, right into there. I'm going to take some tomato that we processed down. So again, go to the farmer's market when they're open. And this time of year, here we are in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, the Venice of the Midwest. But the season is coming to an end. So we've got some nice juicy tomatoes here that are just busted down. I don't, you want to have whole tomatoes in there, you can. But this is the kind of thing that I don't. So again, we're starting off like this. And this is the only other time that we're going to be mixing this dish up because we want to form a crust on the bottom. And that is one of the signs of a well-made paella, is to have that little crusty bottom.
It's very interesting. It's quite opposite of every other dish I think I've ever made. Because you don't want it to be crusty on the bottom.
Radio. But even look at that salmon that you and I made yesterday. We did a beautiful job crusting that skin.
True, very true.
And then we inverted that. And so you just get this real neat little textural thing where you get the hard, crusty kind of a thing, and then you got this beautiful creaminess of that, right? So we're about that point that we're going to need some of this lovely elixir here, this juice.
Smelling stuff.
So I'll tell you what, let's do this together, and I will have you hold it's a cone strainer. It's almost the same style as a chinois. We're just going to pour this right into there.
We get all that stuff in there.
And then we're not going to care so much about this, which you can walk over here. Instead, we're going to get you a small ladle like this one. Back this guy down a bit. And if you would just kind of feed a little bit of this into here, like that. So you got so you don't see the rice anymore, so you cover it. And then we're going to add a little more rice to it. And just like a risotto, you want to tease this up, let it dry a bit, and then give it more hydration, more moisture. And that's where the flavor is really going to emote on this thing. And just because I like to have this with a little bit of oregano in there, we're going to do it my way with a little oregano. We got a little touch of carrot down there.
Is that good?
That's good. That's good. So we can throw a little more rice on top of that now. In fact, if you want to use everything you got there, you go for it, girl.
And what type of rice was this?
This is an arborio rice, A-R-B-O-R-I-O. It's also used for risotto. What we like to find here and use the most is something that's bomba bomba, but I couldn't score that today. It is Milwaukee after all. So we get a lot of things here, but it's not, it's not New York. So at this point, what I like to do is just kind of flatten this down a little bit so we have an equal surface. And again, I'm not stirring up the bottom, I'm just kind of pushing it and, manipulating, like we're grating a agriculture product. There we are. And a little more speed. And at this time, I want to start taking our seafood here. And think about this, because we're not going to be playing with this. The seafood is going to be in the arrangement that we put it in. That's how we serve it, right? Okay. So seafood presentations for at least photography always works best is if you have odd numbers. So we have, I believe you have 7 shrimp, and we have 2, 4, 6, 7, 9 of these. So with that in mind, if you would start to arrange these, and you can do it any way you want, but be consistent with it is what I would think. So if you want it like that, you want it like that, whatever you want it to be, but you know, go all the way around then. And then maybe in between those, we'll take our mussels. And if your mussels are closed or they're fresh, if they're open and you...
Every other?
Sure. And if you open and tap them, and they close up, that's cool. If they don't close, that means you don't want to use those. Now, while Lynzi is doing that, I'm going to take some of our saffron, the most expensive spice in the world.
Where would you even purchase that from, or where is it derived from?
Almost any market will have this now, but the best comes from one of 2 places. Persia really is the reigning location for this, and right after that would be Spain itself. So we've got a lot in here because we want this to be really fragrant and really a dynamic dish. Now somehow we're going to have to wedge in. We don't have to use all these clams, so we have to wedge these. And you can take these and kind of form these, squishy them in like that. So while she's doing that, I'm going to take some of these roasted red peppers and that we have peeled down. You could buy these pre-peeled, pre-manufactured as well. Fresh is always best. You take them, you put them in your oven, and you roast them, get the skins off, and in essence, those are just going to be beautiful and sweet and lovely. And while Lynzi's doing that, I'll find a way to get some of the salmon in there. So I'm going to come back on your left.
Oops.
And you can use any firm-fleshed ocean fish that you have. Typically, you would get a scorpion fish or a monkfish or something like that. I've seen this used with all sorts of interesting things. I mean, grouper, sea bass, whatever, and it just has dynamic flavors to it. The important thing is that it's fresh and you're not getting bones in here because you don't want people to get bones in their uvula. That's a killer for a dinner party.
It's never good.
Never good. So these little things we're just going to take, and I'm just going to get the salmon in here, kind of push it down. It's typical my eyes are bigger than my sensibilities, so we might have more salmon than we need here. And that's okay. Don't let that bother you, and don't let it go to waste. You can always just saute this off and do this for people while they're waiting for the main event to take place. All right, so then we've got the octopus here, and our little octopus is going to get spread around, tossed, and whatever little pattern. Aren't these fun little baby octopus? Yes. Direct from Shawano, Wisconsin, I believe. And then, of course, you can take your calamari and you can just kind of toss that in there as well.
It's slippery.
So you've been up now, no salt and pepper yet?
Not yet. So when this is together,
Tuck some in there.
so Paella de Mariscos, we're not kicking a lot of seafood on this dish, right? And now it's the S&P time. And so just randomly kosher salt, Tell cherry black peppercorns. You often hear people talk about deglazing pans on this as well. The problem with deglazing is that you're not going to have that little crusty action on the bottom that we work so hard to get with that paprika that's there. So that's a part of it. I would say at this point we can probably get a little more fluid into here.
Okay.
And I'm not sure we want to submerge everything, but just go for it.
Go for it. That's what I like. Is that about good, or
A little more.
What do you think? A little more?
That looks nice. And then I'm going to take a little more of the extra virgin olive oil and just drizzle that on there and let that go. At this point, we got a couple options. We can let it just sit here around our stovetop and percolate away and cook for us, because it is done when our seafood is done, which won't be for a little while.
Okay.
I'm going to put it in the oven though, so either way works just fine. We're still using the one pan concept, and from here to there, this will certainly help it to get done faster. Now, in many ways, cooking with rice, faster isn't always better, because you really want the depth of flavor that takes place when everything is going to cook together. So we're a little hot at the moment, and we'll just go back and check that in about 10 minutes.
Perfect.
Lindsay, 10 minutes.
10 minutes.
Now,
Got it.
while that's taking place, she and I will come up with another dish, and we'll be back shortly. Thank you. So while we're waiting for that paella to happen, we're going to do a Spanish-style mussels dish that I've had before. And as opposed to the French with a pomme frite, we are going to do just a peasant style of potato that I've had in northern Spain. And to accomplish that, I've got a pan going with some extra virgin olive oil and some Wisconsin butter. Use any kind of butter you want, but do not use an oleo on here. So just some garlic for flavor. We got some heat going there. And if you continue to do this, about a 1/4 inch thick.
Okay.
I have a blend here of equal parts of oregano and tarragon. And tarragon is a seasoning that you will find throughout Spain and northern France, and it is just marvelous. And it adds so much. It's got a little bit of a anise flavor to it, but it's not anise. You can certainly use a absinthe as well, or any of the anises on this dish, but to get more of a basic traditional flavor, I'm going to have just some fine Spanish sherry. I'm going to use the Osborne Fino on this thing. And once we get this going right now, we have a nice little bubbly thing taking place. And we are going to get our potatoes into here. And we're going to start off with these in the bottom. If you got some fresh parsley, that works in here really nicely. That strays more towards a French style, Provence style. But this will be just lovely. So we're going to begin here and do a smaller batch to begin with. Once these start to go, we're going to put our little stacks up here and add more to it, add more to it, add more to it.
Smells good already.
That's good.
Yes.
And at this point, just a little S&P. It's going to be a lot more that goes into this. Salt is something that's really going to bring out the flavors of this dish, and yet it's not going to appear to be salty. It's just going to be marvelous. The juxtaposition of the butter and the salt, the potato, the garlic, of course. So we're kind of getting where I want it to be, and we're just going to turn these little guys over. I just want to get a little exposure. This is not like a steak that we're searing one side. We just want to get some of the flavor into it. And then in a moment, we will turn these and stack them up and bring more on board. Now, while that's being happy over there, in this pan right here, I'm going to take some extra virgin olive oil, get ourselves a few more cloves of garlic.
Got those from over there.
And we'll keep this down a little bit lower because we don't want to singe our garlic.
Crushed?
Yes, smash them away.
It's all my muscles.
Mm-hmm. Good morning workout. This is today Labor Day, by the way.
Mm-hmm. You know, these potatoes are one of my favorite ways to eat them, and it's very simple.
The staff certainly has devoured their share of them
Yes,
this weekend,
very
haven't they?
much so.
Yes. So again, a little more exposure on both sides. We'll stack them, and then we'll let the whole thing cook together. And even at that point, we're going to take a lid on it, put a lid on it, and this will help to keep some of the heat inside. And how we doing right here? That's Marvy. Let's go ahead and get some of the oregano and tarragon mixed into here as well. Nope, that's our saffron.
That's not what I need. Where is it?
Yep.
Ah.
About a teaspoon. A little more.
One more.
Yep.
There we go. Those are looking tasty.
All right, let's get ourselves some more butter in here. So a big whopping 2 or 3 tablespoon kind of a thing.
This one or this one?
This one. And to go along with that butter, let's get ourselves a little more olive oil, just a little blast. Cool. So we're not just looking for the oil and the butter to be a fat that's going to cook things, we're really looking for the flavor that's going to come off of that as well. And if you're looking at olive oil only as something which will help you to cook something because it's a fat and keeps your meat or protein from sticking to a pan, you're missing out on what olive oil is really all about.
We use it for pretty much everything here.
We do. Much more than butter. There's only a few things that we really focus on butter, the Cajun things, the French things. This obviously is that same general region. We could do this just with olive oil as well, but I just like the way the flavors work together between the butter and that olive oil. Popeye was onto something with that olive oil. Yes, indeed. So we're keeping this low enough that our garlic is not burning, nothing worse than burnt garlic. You get to a certain point that it's nice and brown like this. We've extracted about as much flavor off this as we want. We're still going to use this, we're not going to throw it out, but let's take it out of there so it does not burn.
And now what are we doing in this pan?
That is where the mussels are going to go.
Okay.
I just want to get a little bit more of this underway. Then you can worry about that. Because those mussels are going to happen really fast.
And where do you get your mussels from?
The cooler downstairs. These mussels come from Prince Edward Island, which is where the bulk of our mollusks come from. Our oysters also come from there. It's as far north as you can go in the Atlantic. It's part of Canada. Crisp, cold waters, pure waters, and just a superior tasting product. And I think everybody would agree with that. All right, so we're about that point. Make sure we got a even dispersal going on here. Get this a little hotter. And we're going to keep away from clams and just use these. And probably about 10 or 12 of these would be in order. And again, make sure that you tap them and they close, like that. Yeah, he closed so nicely. He's happy to see you, and
if they don't?
Give it a minute. And if they don't, these are good. And if they don't, we don't want them.
Okay.
Nothing personal there, buddy, but you're dead.
Sure, all these. 6. I do not want the dead ones.
So we're going to do a potato dish fairly close to this for that big rooftop dinner on September 18th that you and I are cooking for.
I'm excited for it. Lots of tasty dishes going on.
Lots of tasty dishes. All right, toss them in. Let's make that happen. Now they've got their own moisture right now, starting like that. We'll put a lid on to keep it all together.
Okay.
So it's almost a little steamy kind of action taking place.
Throw this one away. This one's dead. You don't want that one.
So if you had half an hour to work these and to babysit this and keep turning these over, you'd have an even more flavorful dish. For our purposes, this will be done just about the same time that those are there. So they've been on for a moment. Now they're going to open up. You see they're opening in front of you.
Wow.
So they are alive up until, well, now. So let me grab this sherry, or if you don't mind grabbing it for me.
There you go.
It's going to be a big steamy thing going on right here. Getting all those flavors to glaze up, bubble in. That's going to work their way into the mussels as well. Like that little song from Squeeze, pulling mussels from a shell. Now, just to finish that, we're going to put a lid back on it for a moment, turn our heat off, let that sit there, and go back to concentrate on these lovely gems for a moment.
These are looking pretty golden.
They surely are. And for the sake of having something really sexy here, if you had some fresh parsley here, flat leaf or curly, it wouldn't matter. That would really brighten this dish up. And frankly, that adds so much flavor here, just as it does in a chimichurri. chimichurri. Who would put parsley
Chimichurri.
on a chimichurri? Well, try it sometime and you'll be amazed that it takes away from the typical Mexican into something completely different. All right, those can just stay open and nestle for a moment. You can touch them to make sure that they're done the way you want. So they should have some pliability to them. They're a little bit soft, feel. If you want this to be a little firmer, you can cook for a little bit longer.
Probably a little bit firmer.
I saw the look on your face. You want a little bit more.
I do.
Okay.
You're getting to know me so well.
Mm-hmm.
I don't.
Yeah.
I do like sushi though, but I'm very picky with my select types that I do like. Okay. Is that even sushi technically?
Well, yeah, it's sure.
Yes. Do some maintenance.
Mm-hmm. So how do you want to arrange these? I've got a quick idea. We could reach in that cooler over there, get ourselves some spring greens, and put spring greens around the perimeter, put our potatoes in the center, and then our mussels on that. Again, the secret, if there is one, is just rotate these guys, keep them in motion. You just got to play babysitter. And the rewards are so significant. And this is a really cool thing too. You're working in your kitchen at home, and you know, you're cooking with your family, cooking with somebody you love, and it just, you know, it spends time together, and you're creating something. It's just so cool, man. Do it.
There are some beautiful.
And don't be afraid of making a mistake. Either plate. Which way do you want to go? All right. So what we can do is take a stack of these, rather like this, and put that in our center.
Big old stack of them.
Uh-huh. And if you will, you can just kind of put these in like that, work your way around like that. Now, what we're going to do is going to drizzle, if there's any fluid left, we'll drizzle that over the top, and if not, that's okay. Or you can take a little bit of a Dijon mustard, or you can make a very simple little mustard sauce for this as well. Any number of things really fly. Again, make this dish your own, do what you want to have with it. Have your way with it. The beautiful thing is that most of what we do here in the Flash of the Pan series is a one-pan cooking operation. So we've got one pan for the mussels, and of course a separate pan for the potatoes, but this really could not be easier.
This was a very easy dish.
So the mussels took, you know, 4 minutes, 5 minutes, frankly, and the potatoes were the thing that took a little bit longer. So we might have, you could push these out in 8 minutes, they're better at 20 minutes, they're even better at 40 minutes. Here you have just a lovely opening course for you, for your family, your loved one, whoever you're making this for. And these are just incredible. So I hope you enjoy doing this dish. Simple mussels with simple peasant potatoes.
And here we have our potatoes. You can see that nice golden color, and it's kind of crispy, but still soft. And then I make sure it's cool. And it has a little bit of a crunch to it. It has that nice buttery olive oil flavor, and it's really soft. And you get that little hint of the salt and pepper that you put in there. And overall, it's amazing. And all of our workers here at Shakers, they will come up to me and they'll be like, "Hey, Lynzi, can you put some of those potatoes in?" Because everyone here loves them, and it's a very enjoyable dish, very much so. Okay, now I'm gonna try. I'm gonna grab another fork. Peel them open. See that texture? That's why we cooked it a little longer, because that's what I wanted it. You can definitely taste the sherry in there. It adds a nice sweeter flavor, and it's nice and buttery, and it's got very good flavor. And the texture is nice. It's a little chewy. I didn't like them as soft, so we cooked them a little longer. And overall, it's a nice dish to eat and very easy to make. Very quick and easy, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right, folks, our paella is done. And the way to tell when your paella is done is when the seafood is done. And the seafood certainly is done. You can see that the salmon is just perfectly done. You got nice little fat rising up, little white components rising on there. You can tell that your shrimp is completely cooked all the way through. Your mussels have opened up, and everything is just ready to go. So my recommendation is to let this set for a few minutes. And I think the best thing to do with that is to
Wrap it up.
take a piece of foil and just let it nest for a few minutes. And that'll help to keep some of the moisture. The steam is just going to come back into it. And then we're going to be ready to portion this guy and to have at it.
I'm excited.
See you in just a moment. All right, folks, here we are. We let this rest for about 10 minutes and taking off our foil. And here we are. Again, everything is lovely cooked. And Lynzi is going to get into this thing. So what I want you to do is kind of scrape down low. We should have kind of a crusty bottom.
Okay.
And so if you can, like, get this, so you got a shrimpy and a mushroom, or not mushroom, mussel,
Same
and
thing.
go deeply, and then get it on there.
It's hot.
No,
Okay.
warm.
See if it's gonna stay.
And maybe another little thingy next to it. Perfect. Good, good, good. So while you're away, we could add some peas to this. And there are a variety of different styles. I mean, it's the countless varieties of paellas that you can do. There's some that are made with wild boar. There's some that are made with chicken and ham, almost like a jambalaya. There's an awful lot of body work that uses chorizo, but it's a Spanish chorizo, not a Mexican chorizo. So it's more resemblant to a blood sausage. It's thick and densely packed. Countless things. Again, it's what you have access to, whether it's something at the farmer's market, something from the seafood market, whatever you have to play with is what you should work. And I recommend that people don't chase around town trying to find just the right bomba rice and trying to find just the right saffron. You know, if you use an arborio rice as opposed to that, if you find a Persian saffron as opposed to a Spanish saffron, have at it. You know, don't hurt yourself trying to find the ingredients that will keep you from making just an extraordinary dish and sharing this. I mean, the best thing is if you can cook it with somebody that you know, are into or have a relationship with, or just for your family. But if not, whatever it takes, get this dish done and enjoy the process. A fork for you.
Thank you. Yeah, there's lots of colors going on here. You got the reds and the greens and the reds and all the different little creatures in there. How's it tasting?
Yum. And nice little crunchy bottom there from that little base that we were looking for. So you got a whole different textural thing going on.
There's a lot of textures and flavors and everything going on.
So I've often encountered this in Spain being made on a grill outdoors. It's a real rustic dish. It is a dish of the people, of the country, and of course it's different every place you have it. Don't just get tied up on a recipe. Enjoy this. Have fun. Have fun with the people you're with. Enjoy life. Cheers. Thanks for tuning in.